I've been asked to speak in English because of the international nature of this gathering. I'm going to speak to you about the relevance of Veda in modern economic policies. And therefore I especially thank the Foundation for Vedic India and the Maharishi Veda Vyasa Pratishthan for this invitation to speak to such a distinguished audience. First of all, I'd like to give my salutations to Pujya Jagadguru Sankaracharya and all the important religious leaders from the Hindu faith today here. Also the delegates who have come from different parts of the country and their association with these two great organizations which have done tremendous work in spreading the concept and the spirituality of India all over the world. I spoke on this subject, first of all, in a Catholic university called Fordham University in New York, when there was a conference called by one of the professors there, who was an Indian, called Rishikesh Vinod. And subsequently, he was able to get the book published, Hindu Economics, where one of the chapters is on mine. I also wrote a book recently, which our great respected leader, Sri Ashok Singhal, the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, released along with the head of the RSS, Sri Mohan Bhagwat, called it Hindutva and National Renaissance in India, in which a chapter devotes to Hindutva and economics. First of all, I'd like to begin by saying that there is no such thing as Hindu economics or Vedic economics. Economic laws are scientific, and there are Vedic principles or Hindutva principles which, when applied, will give you a different result from what the current traditional economic theory is teaching. That's because ultimately economic policy making is in 4 dimensions. Dimension 1 is the objectives you choose. In the Western world market economy, profit maximization is the fundamental driving principle. Or for the consumer, what they call as the utility or satisfaction maximization. And in the Soviet world, the communist world, it's usually maximization of production. So the question would be for us as a Vedic society, what is the objective we choose? And once you choose the objectives, then you have to decide on your priorities. And having chosen your priorities, you have to select your strategy for achieving those priorities and objectives. And finally, you have to explain how you will, differently from the West, mobilize resources for financing such an economic policy. So this is the way in which we distinguish ourselves from the rest of the world, by having different objectives, different priorities, a different strategy, and different methods of extracting funds for the purpose of financing these projects. Now, there are a number of priorities which we have, but first of all, the most important objective for us is to be able to serve the largest numbers of people in a Vedic society, to create what is called as the best scenario for happiness. How is happiness achieved? We don't believe in the Vedic system that pure materialistic one-dimensional approach will produce happiness. it has to be harmonized with spiritual advancement. So the two of them together is what we call, in a sense, Sanatana Dharma, where we don't material prosperity. We in fact want material prosperity. But it should be balanced with spiritual values. The original concept of the Varna system was based on this methodology. The Varna system was based on the principle that the pursuit of knowledge and sacrifice were the highest values. And that is why the Acharyas, or what came to be later known as Brahmins, were placed at the top of the pyramid of the society. I remember when I first went as a student to Harvard, my classmate who was an American asked me that I'm not able to understand how you Indians followed Mahatma Gandhi. So I asked him why he's asking me this question, what is wrong with it? He said the man is not properly dressed. So I said, if Mahatma Gandhi came to United States and wanted to lead here a movement, what would you do? He said, we'll have him arrested for indecent exposure. In a sense, when you think about it, our leaders always have been extraordinarily simply dressed. Our spiritual leaders also very, very simply dressed. He may be a Shakracharya, but he will not wear anything more than a saffron cloth. Whereas in the West, you see your leaders are extremely well dressed. And if they don't take care to look proper, they may even lose an election. There's a story that I read in Theodore White's book on the American presidential elections of 1960 when Kennedy won. That one of the reasons he lost the debate with Kennedy was that he came without shaving and there was an afternoon shadow on his cheek. And therefore Kennedy looked much handsomer and much better dressed. In India, this doesn't count at all. Mahatma Gandhi was called all kinds of names by the British, including that he was a half-naked fakir. But the people adored him. Why? Because the sacrifice he represented. That he could have been a barrister earning crores of rupees, but instead he gave it all up and just wore a piece of loincloth and moved around the country. So the division we created essentially was a division of labor. That those who pursue knowledge will not have any weapons, will not have any land, will not have any property, will not have any wealth. In fact, he took it to the ultimate that they should meet their daily needs by begging. And it was not considered infra-dig to beg because those who gave actually earned punya, as it was called, by giving to them. And those who did have weapons, they were kings, but they were not kings like monarchs of Europe. They were people who could not make policy. For policy, they had to go to the Acharyas and the Brahmins. And they had to go to his hut and pay obeisance to him and then ask whether he could do certain things. He could not dispense justice. In Europe, the kings could do all, could declare war, could declare policy, could declare and give punishments for those who committed breach of the law. But not in the Indian system. Those who made wealth were third in the rank. That is, the Indian society the Hindu society or the Vedic society was never structured on wealth. Whereas the Western society is structured on how much wealth you have. Because it's a feeling that holding wealth as the ultimate value would lead to greed, and greed would lead to corruption. And therefore, anyone who makes wealth and then donates whatever is excess to what he needs would enjoy a status in society. And those who lived till the land were those who had to produce for the society, for eating, for milk, etc. So this was the division. And even those special category created what later came to be known as scheduled castes were not birth dependent. None of these four divisions were birth dependent. If it was so,